Well, welcome everybody to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network and sponsored by the amazing Morgan Trinkets. I am your host, Keith Brugman. We only have one other horseman this evening, man, but we got a good one. We got Mr. Trevor Rocket Man Salzman. We're going to be breaking down the Atlanta Falcons versus the Denver Broncos. Welcome to the show, Mr. Trevor Salzman. How we doing on this Friday evening, man? Uh-oh. Don't hear a word from you, sir.
Sorry, my bad. I'll start that again. It's great to be here. I think we should need to do the whole take two. No, it's great to be here. Again, it was a, it felt like the week went by quick, and we're 2 weeks away from football, so we're very excited for it, and hopefully excited for a Broncos victory. I think, again, my opinion, one of the more important games of the season for the Broncos. You have to take care of business at home against this team, because this is a favorable matchup, I think, for the Broncos.
Ooh, favorable matchup. Well, I'm glad that we're going to be on opposite sides of the table, man, on this one, man, because I'm glad you have, it sounds like some optimism coming in here. Atlanta Falcons, Dirty Birds coming into the Mile High City. We both have came off divisional losses. Don't get me, I don't know, ours was heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. Kansas City Chiefs, field goal block. We all know it. We don't need to go over it, but the Atlanta Falcons went up against the New Orleans Saints, who had fired their head coach and had basically no names playing wide receivers with Derek Carr, and lost a divisional game. So I think I think you're right. I think this is an absolutely key matchup, Trevor. I'm 100% on board with you, man. But I think both teams have a lot to play for in this game, man. A ton to play for in this game. I think it's going to be a one heck of an interesting matchup. Not as interesting as the posse, though. Like Scott, who was coming in early over on YouTube saying, Friday fun is about to begin. Good evening, all horsemen and the posse. If you're new to the show, the posse is you. That's all of you coming in with your comments, your questions, your thoughts, your ideas as the Atlanta Falcons come into Denver, try to take on the Denver Broncos, each one looking for a win after a divisional loss. And Ernie Mays is in here saying, go Broncos country only. Bo Nix for 6. Hello, Jody, who unfortunately was unable to make it. We thought Jody was going to be able to jump in here and be part of the podcast, but wasn't able to make it. Trevor is here. Dutchy, unable, but it's okay because we do have Keith, and Trevor might pick the Falcons, he says. Well, I don't know, man. I'll be honest, Ernie, you might want to stick around because we'll have our score predictions come the end of this show. And I just have a feeling the way that Trevor is talking about, favorable matchups, maybe you'll be on Trevor's side and maybe I'll be on the outside looking in. Who knows, buddy? But Victor's coming in. He's talking about how we better leave it. Nice little segue, man. I know one of the things that you brought up in your agenda is one reason that we should maybe be leaving, man. What happened this week for Bo Nix?
Yeah, again, he was named the Offensive Rookie of the Week This week. Again, a big honor for Bo Nix. Again, it just seems like the national media really is starting to give him praise for what he's doing, because he's improving. Is he the franchise guy? I think in some people's minds he is. For me and for the other, some other people out there, I'll say this: they need to see more. It's 10 games for sure. You can see more from him. I'm not saying that he's not the franchise guy. He's improving
Okay.
week by week, but there's still way more that he can. Not way more. There's still more that he can do to improve and be the guy going forward. And I said this when he was drafted, because again, I was on the Bo Nix train before most people were. I
Yeah.
said, Bo Nix, for me, I need to see 2 years out of him, and that's for all the rookie quarterbacks. 2 years out of Bo Nix, and I think we'll have a good enough sample size, and we can be able to tell what he's going to be in this league. It's, again, 10 games into it, very hard. He's been improving each and every week. The game's slowing down for him. Great things to see. But what an honor this week to see Bo Nix get that honor, and well deserved. Again, he played really well against Kansas City, and was one of probably the Broncos' biggest bright spots on offense in Kansas City. And up to this point, it seems like lately this year. So great honor for Bo Nix. Congratulations to him. Well deserved. And looking forward to seeing him win more honors throughout the season.
I'm not making the comparison, Trevor. I'm not making the comparison, okay? But one could be said that John Elway's first couple years, he looked like he still needed to prove himself, even though he was first round, first overall, cannon of an arm. He had to come into round, man. I'm not saying Bo Nix is John Elway, but I see him being so much further along than some of the guys that have been run out there as top 10 quarterbacks that have just struggled and or failed in their first year. And you're just hoping that someone can find the right thing and come and make it better, and something clicks in year 2 or year 3. And right now it feels like Bo Nix is clicking. He's understanding. He's okay going into the loudest stadium, division rival, Kansas City Chiefs, with the clock ticking down like you don't want it to, because the play is coming in too late, and being poised and being confident and delivering us an opportunity to get a win. So for me, I just see the strides where Bo Nix is at, and I like where he's at. And I'm okay with the idea of him being a franchise quarterback, because I didn't necessarily see this in all the other opportunities maybe we had, whether it be a Drew Lock, Jay Cutler even didn't come into round like this in his first year. I mean, there's just, again, I think that the sky is the limit right now. Is there meat on the bone? Absolutely. There's meat on the bone still to be had, Trevor. You're absolutely right, buddy. There needs to be continual stacking, and there's got to be some, probably, I wouldn't say major changes, but there needs to be some work done in this off season for him to really make the next big step. So I get where you're coming from, but I think I understand where those people are out there pounding the table saying, this is our next franchise guy, man. This is our franchise quarterback. I might not be as adamant as pounding the table, but I certainly see a lot of things that are starting to equal up and add up to me being like, yeah, I'm ready to make that check mark here pretty soon, Dud.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, man.
No, so I was just going to say, the reason why I say after year 2, you'll know what you have in Bo Nix, because we're seeing this from the rookie class in 2023. Look at where CJ Stroud is at in his career. Yeah, again, he got off to a hot start his rookie year, and then his second year, he's kind of struggled. It just takes time for these guys to figure it out in the NFL. It's such a big transition. That's why it's hard in year 1 for any rookie quarterback, not just for Bo Nix, to name them the franchise guy year 1. They need at least, I think, 2 years, complete years of NFL football before you know what you have. And even some of the other quarterbacks, again, Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Bengals, same thing. Really struggled his rookie year. He didn't start finding his footing till year 3. And so it's just one of those things where 2 full years, you'll know he's the guy. He certainly looks like a guy to build around right now for sure. Franchise guy, we've got to see that after a while. But I think he's definitely a guy that is emerging and is growing week by week, and that is very encouraging for a guy like Bo Nix.
Yeah. I think a lot of franchises would be very happy to have the opportunity that we have in one Bo Nix. I have the opportunity to have the posse backing us up, like people like Phil McLaughlin, who continue to support this show. And Phil, love, appreciation, and hope you're doing well out there. Loving the Broncos and seeing what we've been doing so far this season, because I think it's something to be really optimistic about. But he's coming in here and saying, good evening, Keith and Trevor. Feeling good about this week. I really think we start a home winning streak. So, a place that we haven't been necessarily good, Trevor, at home. This is a place that the Denver Broncos have struggled, not just this year, but even in years past. We've been a road team better than we've been a home team as of lately. Let's just put it this way: I want to save your prediction for this game, but do you see us being able to put multiple games, looking at the schedule, home games as wins? What are your thoughts around that, buddy?
Yeah, because I think the matchups are in more your favor. I mean, the last 2 weeks, let's be honest, the Broncos have faced two very tough opponents, two teams that are probably going to be fighting for Super Bowl championships. The Broncos still have some building to do, and that is fine. You're in year two of Sean Payton being your head coach of this football team, and in year one of your rookie quarterback. There's still plenty of time for this team to continue to grow. But I think that the opponents aren't as stout as you've seen the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, not just that you're at home, but it's also that the opponents you're facing, these teams are either, still, behind the Broncos in the playoff picture and they're still fighting their way through, or they're just been a little rocky, not been, on both sides of the ball, offense and defense side of the ball, haven't been, kind of gotten all their eggs in the basket quite yet. And I'm talking about like the Cincinnati Bengals, great offense, elite offense, but their defense is not very good this year. So it's one of those things where, there's opportunities there, and for this football team to really show the world, hey, this is a playoff team. We're young, but you better believe in us because we have what it takes in our with what our play is going to be like over the next couple of weeks. And we face two really tough opponents, but don't knock us when we're down. We're going to come back and we're going to fight, and we're going to fight harder, and make the playoffs for the first time in 7-8 years.
That brings up a good point. I'll run through a couple of comments, but I do want to go back to that. So please remind me if I get too caught up in all the amazing comments and thoughts that are coming in from the posse. We appreciate you all coming in. And man, I'll tell you what, the posse has just rocked it, man. We've taken agendas and thrown them out the window just because of all you all. Scott's just chiming in. He's saying John had more physical attributes and Bo has more of the brains. I'll be honest, well, John was a Stanford guy. He's not. He wasn't necessarily dumb upstairs. But I'll 100% agree that John Elway absolutely beats Bo Nix from a physical attribute all day long with his arm. 100%. I do believe that maybe Bo Nix has better legs than I ever saw John Elway ever have. Most of us probably remember John Elway in the Super Bowls when he was way past his prime, but he did have some pretty good legs in his earlier days. Rodney Garcia is coming in here, and he just has a couple of thoughts. But first, he says, "Good evening, guys, and go Broncos," and saying happy Friday as well. I'll be honest, I've completely forgot what my train of thought was where I said to remind me, and I don't expect you to remind me now at this point. So I'm going to move on to one question that Rodney has. And he says, do you think that we should extend one Mr. Garrett Bowles to a 1 to 2 year friendly year deal? Trevor, first question is, do you think that he would take a friendly deal given that he's a experienced veteran, not over the hill left tackle that would be hitting the free agent market? Is Garrett Bowles open to a 1 to 2 year friendly deal? And if so, do you think we should re-sign him to one such deal or a deal in general?
I don't think he's open to a team-friendly deal. I hate to be the bearer of bad bones here, but I think if he was open to a team-friendly deal, it would have happened by now. And I just think that Garrett Bowles is just saying, hey, I mean, if you want to extend me, fine. I'd love to stay in Denver, but I'm not trying to put words in his mouth at all. I'm just saying from this perspective, from what I can tell up to this point, he has not signed any contract extension yet. We haven't heard of any news yet. So I think he's going to go out there and test the waters in free agency if the Broncos don't extend him. I don't think that he why should he give money back to this team? I mean, again, he's fought and fought and fought and fought and fought through a lot of adversity, honestly. I mean, he's getting, kind of booed from the crowd at times, throughout his career. He hasn't been through a playoff game throughout his career here in Denver yet.
Yeah.
So, he's, maybe not a top 5 tackle, but he's certainly, top 10, top 12, I would say, solid, very solid left tackle for this team. And a free agency class that doesn't have a lot of top left tackles. And so, I mean, again, it's just one of those things where, so it's just one of those things where, but if he's not back here in Denver, he's going to go test the waters and he's going to go get probably his last, big time paycheck of his career because he's 32 years old. So he's looking to get paid for sure. And no one can blame him for wanting to get paid.
I'll give you a follow-up then. Do the Denver Broncos use a franchise tag on one Garrett Bowles?
I would at least consider it if I was them, for sure. I think that's one of those things where you have that resource in the back pocket. It does Sean Payton want Garrett Bowles to be here? That's the thing. Is Garrett Bowles, again, not Sean Payton guy? Is there a tackle in the draft that you want to go after? I know there's some people say that this draft class, upcoming, tackle class, isn't very good. I think there's some size to it. I don't know that I wouldn't say that it's not very good. We shall see as draft time gets closer. But for the franchise tag, I think definitely should be on the table for Garrett Bowles. But again, does George Payton, Sean Payton see Garrett Bowles in Denver? And we'll see what their options are at going into, as we move forward, we'll get a little bit better idea of what this team is looking at as far as tackle. But you need a left tackle no matter what to protect Bo Nix. You have to take care of him. It's not just about his weapons. It's about his offensive line. And his offensive line has been pretty dang good for him this year. Garrett Bowles has been a big part of that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you look at this run that the Denver Broncos have been on, I guess, or this, I feel like it's kind of a run. I don't know if anybody necessarily, certainly the pundits, the way that they rated us before the season started, expected us to be 5-5, still in the hunt, great opportunities to still be in the playoffs, and looking like we're improving, not like we're in desolation or just hoping for the season to be over or anything like that. So this team has been building, and I think a lot of it has to do with this offensive line and Garrett Bowles as well. I mean, like you said, for a guy that's taken his licks and been called Garrett Holds by many across Broncos country, we've all probably been guilty at some point, maybe uttering that phrase, unfortunately, and that being said, the guys went through a lot of punishment, hasn't got those playoff wins, but man, has he been key? He's been key. He's been a huge part of this offense, and left tackles don't, just fall off the tree left, right, and otherwise. They're tough to come by. I think in contrast, Trevor, this is a guy that has really, had struggles in his life and has felt like the Denver Broncos has been his second family. So I think there is some opportunity for him to, I believe he's going to go out there and kind of test the market. But I think the Broncos will have an opportunity to sign him and maybe to a friendlier deal than the top dollar offered to him out on the market. Because, every player knows, sometimes the grass isn't greener. And boy, if you just decide to chase the money, you can end up with in the worst situations out there. Just bad teams that have money to spend, unfortunately, and I don't think the Broncos are anywhere close to that position. So I think it bears consideration in Garrett Bowles' mind, I guess.
Well, and I don't think they have the depth to do it. I mean, who's sitting behind him to where you can trust? I mean, Pelcheski, okay, he played fine, but is he ready to take on the role of being your right tackle? You'd probably move McGlinchey to left tackle. I'm not okay with that because, McGlinchey in particular, pass protection wise, he's not been very good throughout his career. He's a very good run blocker, but pass protection wise, that's definitely not his strength. So I don't think you want to put Bo Nix in any harm's way with putting McGlinchey over there on that left side. I don't know how they can turn against Bowles right now. I think you kind of have to pay him, right now. You really don't have much of an option unless there's a for sure tackle in the draft that you can get, and that's your guy. But even then, you're talking about developing a tackle, and that takes time too. So it's just like I don't think they have much of a choice. I think you have to pay Garrett Bowles. I certainly would. This offensive line's been a pretty big strength for this team this year, for the most part. So I think you need to keep this strength of this team together, and that's your offensive line. And you maybe even improve the center position this offseason. But your tackles, your guards, been pretty solid for this team this year, and I think they give Bo Nix a good chance to grow.
You've invested in this offensive line.
Yeah.
Ben Powers, you're invested in for years. Mike
Yeah.
McGlinchey, you're invested in for years. Quinn Miners, you just signed to a multi-year contract. You're invested in this offensive line. The left tackle, the center position, those are the only two positions left that you haven't invested in. And you're going to have to probably invest in that left tackle one way or another. If a great free agent hits the market, fantastic. You think you can land him, but you're also playing that gamble of letting a Garrett Bowles, who's, for everyone who may be not necessarily the biggest Garrett Bowles fan, be careful what you wish for. It could be a heck of a lot worse. What is never worse? And I hit the wrong one here, but I wanted to hit this one. Miranda Mary over at Broncos World Order coming in saying, guys, I'm the most psycho diehards on the planet. I know she's talking about the Broncos because she's saying hashtag Broncos World Order. If you haven't checked out Broncos World Order, huge Broncos fan page. Miranda Mary has launched it. I don't know how long ago, but they are Broncos World Order. Check out Miranda Mary, what they got going on over there. She's saying it's almost time for Iron Mike time, though. If I did the math right, because I put a clock on the screen, because I'm interested as well, we'll come in under the wire. It's supposed to basically go down about 9 o'clock Mountain Time. We'll be off the air before then. So you're all set to go. Don't worry, everybody. You can hang around for our show, still see what happens in Jake Paul and my Iron Mike Tyson fight. I know a lot of people. If there's an update, let me know, but I'm not keeping that big of tabs on it. We're here talking Broncos. Ernie Mays is thinking that we can come in here and win the last 7 games on any given Sunday, he says. Rodney Garcia is kind of just talking to what you were talking about with one Bo Nix, saying it took Josh Allen 3 years to develop with the Bills, and talk about maybe some comparisons that you can maybe draw between similar athletes. And then what I wanted to get back to, is it I can't even remember where it was at. But one of our commenters, and I'll find it, bud, but it was really around this running game as we kind of flip into getting into the Atlanta Falcons, coming into the Denver Broncos, getting off all the Garrett Bowles talk, not getting into the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul necessarily. But the question was, the run game and the opportunity maybe we have to get the run game going versus the Atlanta Falcons, and how that could open up the passing game. I'll find the comment, but I know that you're hot on the Broncos and maybe what they can do against this Atlanta Falcons. Do you think it stems with getting the run game going, and will that open up the you found it? Will it open up that passing game that I think might be necessary in this game?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that the running game has to be improved. I mean, I want to take the last couple of weeks with a grain of salt because you have faced the 2 toughest defenses against the run. So that being said, going forward, you need to be able to run the football, but take the last 2 weeks out. I know it hasn't been great this year. They haven't even had one game, one 100-yard rusher by himself. Anybody in the running back room this year, you have to have somebody that's better. But yeah, it starts. You have to get the run game going. I think you have to have a balanced attack in this game, from my opinion. My game plan going in this game, that if I was Sean Payton, that's how I would dial it up per se. But it starts with the running game. Yeah, and it starts with Estime. My biggest worry is with Estime is what's Sean Payton's confidence level in him as far as being a running back. Yes, obviously he has confidence in him, but as soon as Estime fumbles again, is he out of the game? Is he back in Sean Payton's doghouse? Or are you going to let him fight through those fumbling issues and let him continue to be out there on the field? I don't love that the rotation, the constant rotation of running backs out there. I understand you're trying to find the right guy to put behind Bo Nix who can run the football effectively, but you're not going to be able to do that if you're just going to continue to constantly rotate these guys in and out, they're never going to get chemistry with this offensive line. They're not going to get chemistry with Bo Nix. And even through their struggles, they need to play through those struggles, not be benched and be on the sideline for that. I just don't think that that's the right way to do that. And so that's my biggest concern with Estime, the fumbling issues. If it turns up again, it happens again, does Sean Payton say, you're gone, I'm bringing somebody in. Javonte, you're going to get the reps. Estime, you're going back to the bench. You're in my doghouse again. It's just one of those things. So love to see the running game going. I think it's huge in this game. It's very crucial you get the running game going. Bo Nix passing 40 times in any football game right now is not helping him whatsoever. And the last couple of weeks, they've had virtually no running game at all. So absolutely, you have to get the running game going in this game. It's one of my probably top of my list as far as what this Denver Bronco football team needs to do to get a win against Atlanta Falcons in Denver.
So you're telling me that Bo Nix shouldn't be the leading rusher for the Denver Broncos game after game after game? That's not the secret recipe to success for you, Trevor. I want to ask you this, man, before we get to Phil's question on tackles here, man. 1 back, 2 back, 3 back. I know that Sean Payton has his own ideas. What are your ideas? What type of system do you think would be best worked out? You just talked about sticking with a guy. It always brings me back to this question because Sean Payton likes to really mix it up and maybe have 3 backs ready to go on any given moment, run out there and take the field.
Yeah, and I think that part of it's what these guys' skill sets are as well. Is Estime very good in the passing game? Is he good in pass blocking? Probably areas in his game where he can improve upon. Javonte Williams kind of runs, doesn't run the football or doesn't see the running lanes that are there sometimes, I should say. But he's very good in the passing game and very good at pass blocking. So I think and then obviously Jaleel McLaughlin, can't forget about him in this.
Yeah,
he's your speedster. He changes it up for you. And, it's one of those things, though, he's not a complete back either. So you don't really have that complete back on this team. That's probably why you're seeing this rotation. I know that Sean Payton likes to mix it up. Of course he does. But you don't have that one guy. You don't have that Alvin Kamara that you can really put in the backfield right now. And that you have a ton of confidence in right now. So for me, what I'd like to see him stick with somebody at some point in time throughout the year, because I don't think that, splitting carries is fine, and in the passing game with Javonte, because what his skill set is, but running the football, I just want to see Estime run the football. If Javonte, if he needs to be in the passing game, then he should be interested in the passing game, and that's it. I know Javonte just got 1 carry last week, so mostly he was in the passing game, involved in the passing game. But if things go bad with Estime, don't take him out. Let him go through those struggles. He's a 5th-round pick. You need to see what you have in this running back room in particular. See, we say we need to know what Bo Nix is going into the end of the season. By the end of the season, well, you need to know what weapons you have around Bo Nix, and that includes your running back room. So I think Sean Payton trying to get a good idea of what he has. I certainly understand the running, mixing the running backs up and using them differently for their skill sets, but again, just don't want to see Estime sitting on the bench. If you're going to give him the playing time in Kansas City that he got, then stick with him and give him the playing time, even though when he struggles, if he fumbles multiple times, I understand. Once, stick with him and let him, kind of get through those struggles and be better for the end game.
I agree with you 100%. And the only thing I would add to that, Trevor, is what I don't like about what Sean Payton is doing is the rotation is becoming predictable. Yeah. Now, especially with the role that Javonte Williams took versus the Kansas City Chiefs, I know what's going to happen when Javonte's in. I know what's going to happen when Jaleel McLaughlin's in. I know what's going to happen when Audric Estime's in. I think sometimes you need to force the issue and choose the running back and decide this is the guy that's going to be out there until he needs to be spelled. And then we'll bring somebody else in, and that guy's got to kind of carry the load and be able to do some of the same things, or maybe you're running those guys in those obvious situations, and it's okay. But that guy's got to carry the load in so many different ways, and I think that's the way you need to do it. It works fine if you can throw all 3 of them out there, and they're all 3 capable of that. But the likelihood that you can get 3 running backs that are speedsters that can block and pound the ball up in the middle and be able to hit the holes and jump cut. It's way too much. But having a guy that can do most of it 2/3 of the time, I'd much rather see that than kind of the route that we're going. I don't want to see what I saw in Kansas City repeated versus the Atlanta Falcons, because I think we got super predictable, specifically in this game. Never super predictable. Well, it's two people. I just want to recognize that Scott came in on YouTube with almost the same exact thoughts that Phil dropped stars on Facebook about. And his thought was, this is not a good year for tackles, so we need to do something with Bowles, but we still need to find a backup soon. Scott was saying Sean has made many, many comments about having the need about people around Bo, and Bowles is one of them. Try to keep him while we train a draft pick. So again, very similar thoughts to what Phil's putting up here on the screen right now. Is that a big need, do you think, in this offseason as we head in to the draft? And we're talking way down the road as we're talking about an Atlanta Falcons game in week 11. But, is that a huge need that needs to be pushed up in the draft board is tackle position, do you think, sir?
If Garrett Bowles is back, I would say you I think go best player available, wide receiver, running back. They need playmakers. They really do. Tight ends, it's in there. So it's hard to fill every single need, in one off season. So for me, it would be running backs really high on my list, probably higher on my list than I think, anybody else's list per se. So for me, I mean, if Garrett Bowles is back, I don't think you need to draft a tackle in the first round. I think you can wait round 3, round 4 if it's the right guy. Now, if it all depends upon where the Broncos have these guys ranked. They've been scouting these guys for a couple years now. They probably have a pretty good idea of some of the guys they're really liking. And I know we still have a little bit more of the college football season to go, but they know the guys are looking at, and the guys are kind of catching their eyes. So it all depends on how they rank them on their boards and whatnot when they finalize them. But yeah, I mean, I don't think, if Bowles is back, it's not immediate, because you still have other positions to go out there and fill. And this free agency market is not filled with wide receivers out there, playmaking wide receivers. T. Higgins is out there, but do you want to spend number 1 wide receiver money on a number 2 wide receiver? I'm not sure about that. Tight end, there's not really much out there, and running back, there's not much out there. So this team is really going to have to build through the draft. Seriously, if they're going to improve this offseason now, they're going to sign some free agents, of course, but I think they're going to do the bulk of their team building through the draft. And I think it's got to be starting with playmakers around Bo Nix. And that's why it comes back to bringing back Garrett Bowles. If it's the franchise tag, I don't think it's too much off of what he would probably even ask on the open market, but you keep him around. You use that franchise tag, because they haven't used that franchise tag in how long now? The Broncos have it.
Long time now.
So it's like, now you have an opportunity to do so. Let's open this contending window. Go get playmakers for Bo Nix, and you keep your starting left tackle at least for another year. Would love to see Garrett Bowles stick around. I'd love to see the Broncos go get Bo Nix more help, specifically in the running back room.
Very good, sir. Yeah, lots of opportunities. I might be on board with pushing this up, because I do feel like, how long do you have? You do need to replenish. I think there will be opportunities in free agencies, not just for wide receiver, because I think wide receiver is something that you can address fairly soon. But I think you can, within the first 3 rounds, invest in a tackle. I'm not saying you need to push it up into first-round talent, but within the first 3 rounds, I think you can go out there and get your tackle then. Patrick Wiltsey has later come in and said that he's now back, but he said he's sorry, he's getting ready for the Tyson fight. I now have my wife on alert. You guys are all set to go. We should be able to make it to the end of the show. She's going to alert me if anything changes. So I understand. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. It's going to be a heavyweight bout on Sunday, and we're going to talk about some Falcons and some more Broncos. But before that, I got to talk about Morgan Trinkets. Pearl's in here. She's been talking to some comments in here. So Pearl, please correct me if I'm wrong, or tell me the best way to get in contact with you in the comments right now. I'll try to remember this correctly, as I am doing it by memory. Morgan Trinkets is your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices. Guys, gals, holidays are right around the corner. Now is the time. If you're looking for anything like this for your significant other, that person in your life that you just want to find that treasure for, Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices. Sounds right up the alley. They've been doing it for 34 years now. They were once a nationwide company. Now they're just in your backyard. They hang out in northern Colorado, southern Wyoming, doing fantastic shows all summer long. But you can contact them right now. And if I have it right, and I'll make sure that nothing's coming in here, Morgan Trinkets at gmail.com, if I remember correctly. Morgan Trinkets at gmail.com. They had some issues with their Facebook page. They did have a little bit of a hacking issue. But if you're interested in any Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, State Gold at wholesale prices, please contact Pearl at morgantrinkets at gmail.com, and they will hook you up. They'll send you images. They'll get in contact with you, and they will find the treasure for you, for your significant others, for the holidays, for whatever occasion you have. Morgan Trinkets is the way to go. We'll get more information as time goes by. But I'm telling you right now, we've had so many happy customers with Morgan Trinkets, whether it was in-house, the Horsemen, or the Posse themselves, or many, many, well, thousands others throughout the 34 years they've been doing this. Karen's coming in here. She's got experience. She's saying, good evening, all. I just want this win this week, and it feels like a need for a team to score some points and get the win. I don't care how they do it. Until talent is proven, we might struggle. We were just talking about that. You were just talking about adding talent to this team. I want to get a little bit more into this game, though, man. I want you to start diagnosing, game planning. You're the offense. You're Sean Payton. You're going out there and you're running against this defense. What are you seeing against this Atlanta Falcon defense? How are you game planning against it? What do you think we're going to see this Sunday, Trevor? I'll give you my thoughts after. How's that?
Sounds good. For me, this is a defense that I'm not worried about getting after the quarterback. I mean, they rank towards the bottom of the league in pressures this season. They have 66 pressures this year. That's not the greatest. The Broncos, for me to give you an accurate estimate what the Broncos have, they have 105 pressures this year. The Vikings lead the league with 110 pressures this year. So the Falcons, again, they don't have a lot of pass rushers. I'm not worried about them getting after Bo Nix whatsoever. Their run defense, I mean, again, it's not what you face the last couple of weeks. It's not a top tier run defense. They're middle pack and run defense, ranking wise. And so the defense doesn't really worry me much at all. It's their biggest weakness on this football team, frankly. They have a defensive mind head coach with Raheem Morris, but you need to, if the Broncos offense is going to get right and maybe have, take strides in the right direction, this should be the game that they should take advantage of because of how and where this Atlanta Falcons defense is at. You're not facing one of the top defenses in the league, for me. So run the ball. Got to run the ball efficiently. It starts there. Got to open up the passing game. But that would be a balanced attack. There's no need for Bo Nix to throw 40 times in this game or even throw close to 40 times in this game. Balanced attack. I think if you can get that running game going, you've seen signs of that last week in Kansas City in the first half with Audric Estime. Let's get that run game going finally and start getting points. You have to get points. You can't sit there and have halves where there's no points on the scoreboard. And I'm talking about second half, 2 weeks in a row, the Broncos have not gotten points on the board. That is unacceptable. That's putting your defense in a bad position throughout the game. So for me, bounce attack, this is a defense that doesn't worry me getting after the quarterback. So you're going to have time in the pocket if you're Bo Nix more than ever. And, you should be able to drive the ball down the field and score points on this Falcons defense because, again, frankly, they just don't worry me.
Very good. Okay. This is the thing that I see. I went back and I looked at Atlanta Falcons and specifically more their defense. And you know what I saw? I saw the Denver Broncos defense, but not from Vance Joseph, from Vic Fangio. This is so much a bend, don't break type of defense. This is so much between the 20s type of defense. I think we'll have opportunities to run the ball. I mean, until last week against the New Orleans Saints, they have been an absolute sieve of a defense. against the run game. Audric Estime should have every opportunity to go off and look better than Alvin Kamara did last week, in my opinion. Every opportunity. I think that the passing game is going to be tougher to come by. They drop a lot of guys back, but you do have opportunities to get some short passes over the middle, crossing patterns, screen passes, stuff like that. Great opportunity to start building on stuff like that. Deep shots are going to be tougher to come by. And the biggest thing for me is what we do once we get in the red zone. You know, I think third down conversion, this could be one of our best games because, again, I think we'll be able to march up into that red zone area. It's what we do then, Trevor. That's going to be key in this game. What we do once we get in the red zone, man, I'm telling you, it's going to be huge, man. It's going to be huge. That's how I see it against this. How do you feel, man? Do you see anything similar to what I just talked about there? But I saw you nodding your head.
Yeah, you know, in the passing game, they are one of the top teams, I guess, the pass this year. So I agree with you. It's going to be not going to be easy. It's never easy with any team in the NFL, but it's not easy to, you know, for Bo Nix to pass the ball around. It's not going to be easy. But again, in the running game, you can take advantage of this team, and you're not going to have to worry about who's the number one edge rusher on this football team right now. Who, you know, when it comes to Atlanta Falcons, who's going to get after Bo Nix? I mean,
oh yeah,
this offensive line should just cook all day. You want to talk about a positional group that should cook? It's the Broncos offensive line all day long on that Falcons defensive line. I mean, it's just I don't see any threats, and that doesn't worry me when it comes to getting after Bo Nix. Bo Nix, there should be 0 sacks on Bo Nix on Sunday because of how. I mean, again, anything can happen, but I'm just saying
oh yeah,
how the Broncos offensive line is matched up against this Falcons defensive line. And there's a big margin right there where I think this Broncos offense can really take advantage of that, both running the football and passing the football. And so it's just going to be about, can Bo continue to be accurate, deliver the football? Can his wide receivers continue to get open? It's a secondary with A.J. Terrell and Justin Simmons. It's not easy to go up against, but certainly can be a doable. You just seen the Saints do it last week. So Falcons are going to be hungry, though. They're going to be hungry, and Justin Simmons, it's a reunion game for him coming back to Denver, so he's going to want to make some plays, and so not going to be easy. But you can. This is a defense that you can put up points against, and you can put or you can get yards against, and you can drive the ball down the field against. So very manageable game on offense this week. There's no excuses to go scoreless in any of the halves this week.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned, like I said, with the way that they play, whether the Broncos will be settling for 3 points, 6 points, 9 points, you know, in a quarter, rather than 14, 7, hopefully 21 in a quarter, that we would like to see, you know, those punch it in type of plays. That's going to be, I think, key in my mind as we go up against this Atlanta Falcons defense. Again, I think we'll be somewhat happy in what we're seeing because you will see that success. Again, I think I think you nailed it, Trevor. The offensive line is going to look good in this game. They should look good in this game. The running game should look good in this game. Now, again, if you're looking for deep passes and, you know, throwing the ball all over the field on deep outs and stuff like that, that's the type of, that's what they protect against. They'll keep it all underneath, and wait till you get down to the 20 and then seal it up. And that's what they're hoping for. It's a great recipe. We saw Vic Fangio do fantastic things with that for the Denver Broncos. But that being said, we get off of Vic Fangio. We're going to switch over to the other side of the ball, buddy. I like I said, I think we'll have great opportunities. Maybe we'll get into a couple of key guys that you think at the end of this defensive segment. But the Atlanta Falcons, Kirk Cousins, he has a few weapons, whether you talk about running backs, tight ends, wide receivers. The Denver Broncos have now faced, you know, a couple of good offenses. How do you think this Denver Broncos defense matches up against this Atlanta Falcons offense as they come into Denver?
Yeah, I think the matchup pretty well. I love the we talked about the Broncos offensive line dominating against the Falcons defensive line. I think the Broncos defensive line can dominate against the Falcons offensive line. Honestly, I think that again, Jonathan Cooper, Zach Allen, these guys are monsters. They're going to get after Kirk Cousins, and you're dealing with the first time in a few weeks a non-mobile quarterback in Kirk Cousins. He's a more of a pocket passing quarterback, and an older quarterback that's not going to give you fits when it comes to taking off and running. So I think that this is a very favorable matchup for the Broncos defense. Bijan Robinson's one of those guys you got to watch out for. I think it starts with him. You got to stop the run. You have to stop the run. He's one of those guys that's just an elite playmaker. If he gets going, it might be a long game because, again, just like we said with the Broncos offense, the Falcons offense, they get that run game going, it could definitely open up the passing game for them. And they got weapons too. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, you name it, they've got it. So it's just one of those things where they have all the talent offensively to be explosive. That's why I think the Broncos offense is going to have to score points in this game, not field goals. They're going to have to score touchdowns in this game. And the Broncos defense, but the difference is the Broncos defense is very, very solid, and it's very solid when it comes to getting after the quarterback. I think they're going to give Kirk Cousins fits. I do think that that's going to happen. Meaning that he's a mobile quarterback, non-mobile quarterback, a pocket passing quarterback. I think it's a favorable matchup up front for Denver, and they've been very impressive against Patrick Mahomes. They were in Kansas City. I don't see why they couldn't be successful against Kirk Cousins in Denver. It's going to be a tough challenge, of course, to cover all these weapons that Atlanta has. But it's one of those things where it's definitely manageable for this defense, and it's time for this defense to continue, to play elite football as they have this year. And I just love the matchup when it comes to pressures, getting after Kirk Cousins. And this one, I think that they're going to have to really adjust to what Denver has with Jonathan Cooper, Nick Benito as well. Let's not forget about him and Zach Allen getting after Cousins.
I'm sitting there. I was wrapping back around to Karen's thought here, and it was a little bit more on the offensive side. She said more play action and go score early. The one thing that I'm concerned about, Trevor, is whether this becomes a track meet type of game. Again, Ernie, if you're still hanging out there, I think you're going to be more on Trevor's side than me. Go ahead and start getting your score predictions, everybody. I've already seen a couple come in. But the thing that scares me is the Denver Broncos went up against the Baltimore Ravens that had multiple wide receivers. Now, don't get me wrong, completely different quarterback. I mean, you couldn't get opposite sides of the coin than Lamar Jackson versus Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Completely different quarterback. But when we start talking about weapons in the receiving game, a fantastic running back, an offense just stacked full of weapons. It didn't take Peyton Manning being able to go out there and operate like Lamar Jackson to make weapons look good and get the ball out quick and be able to diffuse a quick pass rush that's is just going to eat against you. Then it becomes all about your defenders and your secondary and what your linebackers can do. And, are you playing zone? Are you playing man? This is a game that I could just see, being one of those type of track meet type of games that I talked about with Baltimore that I thought might even, have more of a chance to happen even in Kansas City. But when I looked at this Atlanta Falcons game, I saw something very similar. And I want to get your thoughts, man. Forget about play action and how maybe necessarily we get there that Karen's pointing out here. But do you think we need to go score early, start putting points up on the board so, maybe this Denver Broncos defensive line can go eat? Because we need to have them dropping back and the quick passes aren't necessarily, getting it done quick enough in order to put the points back up on the board that they're getting behind on because we're scoring early and often. How's that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about early. I mean, I think that Denver just needs to move the football, and I think they need to do it for that complete game on offense. I don't know about that. Scoring early is gonna. I mean, yeah, of course you want to score early, but I just want to see a complete game from this offense. It just seems like it's tale of two halves when it comes to against good football teams. And again, Carolina and the Saints are not in a good place right now with with their teams. So other than those few teams, just we haven't seen the consistency from this offense that you need. And you got to win the time of possession. And it's just so many different things and different factors go into it. You're going to tire out your defense if they're consistently out there, battling. So yeah, I mean, there's concern for me offensively for sure, but I think that I love the matchup just up front with Kirk Cousins. Again, for me, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, two guys that I think you're gonna have to really put a stop to. If you can put a stop to those two guys, I love Denver's matchup because you have Drake London going up against Pat Surtain. Pat Surtain takes away that side of the field. So one thing Denver's really struggled upon against is covering tight ends. This could be a big Kyle Pitts game, and they could be looking to get him the ball. How does Denver adjust to that? We shall see. And then again, like Bijan Robinson, another guy, very elite running back, one of the better running backs in the league.
Yeah.
But Denver, as of late, has been pretty good stopping the run. So Kyle Pitts might be that X factor in this game for the Falcons. It might be a guy that they look to get the ball to, knowing that Denver has struggled against opposing tight ends, Brock Bowers. And then we've seen that last week with Travis Kelce as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Multiple weapons on the Atlanta Falcons, man. It's the thing that concerns me the most as this Denver Broncos defense goes up against them. I don't think it's a game that the Atlanta Falcons can get up early because then this defense will be scrambling, in my opinion, to try to catch up. And this Denver Broncos offense hasn't necessarily shown the ability to come back and win out games, especially games like this where I think it could be kind of a track meet. I do agree with what Karen's saying. I do think we need to go out there. I do think we need to put points up on the board early. I think we need to get the Atlanta Falcons behind to where they think they need to start driving the ball down the field, getting points, getting it quickly, managing the clock, getting in front of the clock, and making sure that Kirk Cousins is making mistakes, that Kirk Cousins is dropping back in a 5-step drop or looking further down the field as he takes his drops, so that this Zach Allen, Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper can go out there and do what they do best. I think if they're able to manage the game against the Denver Broncos and they are able to dictate how the offense plays against this Denver Broncos defense, it could be a very, very long day. I don't think it'll be as bad as what we could see from the Baltimore Ravens, but it could be tough. It could be tough against this Denver Broncos team. Pearl is saying she's been working on a new site and she worked on it hard all afternoon. Please let us know, Pearl, once that site is up and running. I want to get more predictions in, but I do want to just back up for a second to one question that we had come in from Phil, and this is going a little bit back in the conversation, but he dropped stars, and I just want you to get your quick thoughts as everyone gets their final score prediction on the Denver Broncos versus Atlanta Falcons Sunday afternoon matchup that I think is going to be a big, big key for both teams. Again, both of them coming off of big losses last week versus division opponents. Both are very hungry. This is one of those games, Trevor, before I get into Phil's comments, because you brought it up early, and I want to tap on this. And this is maybe what I wanted to be reminded about way, way back at the beginning of the show. I think this is key to see how this Denver Broncos team responds. You talked about them being a young team, a hungry team, and them coming back after, man, what a gut punch. I think this is a big, big, big key game to see how they come out there and how they play. If the Denver Broncos come out there and just put the beat down on the Atlanta Falcons, man, does that tell you a ton about this team, Trevor? It tells you a ton about this team. Phil wants to know about this team, though. He dropped some stars, so we'll get to this, and then we'll get in all the score predictions, including me and you. And he says, guys, you think we pick up a center in the offseason? Do you think we go for center? Alex Forsyth, Luke Wattenberg, they've been kind of in and out of rotations. They both had their struggles at times in the season, I think. Luke Wattenberg has now been kind of chosen in that direction. Whether it be through the draft, through free agency, do you see a path for another center being brought onto this roster for next year?
That's a great question, Phil.
It is. It is a
I
great
mean,
question.
it goes back to one of those things where the Broncos in the past have not originally really invested into a center. I mean, we've seen multiple centers leave: Connor McGovern, Paradis, kind of leaving free agency, and then the Broncos just, I mean, they get their replacements to the draft. So, I mean, if investing when it comes to maybe a 5th round pick, 4th round pick, I don't think they're going to invest a high draft pick into it. I don't think they're going to spend in free agency on a center. I think Sean Payton values the offensive line, but you only have to value the offensive line to a point, because yes, the center position is very important, but I kind of do think that Sean Payton likes what he has with Wattenberg. And I know that, I've been off and on with Forsyth and Wattenberg, because it's, again, they've been off and on a little bit this season. They've been inconsistent. It's hard to get everything on your checklist done in the offseason. I'll just say that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they at least bring in competition for these guys, Forsyth, Wattenberg, to kind of push them and find the best guy out there they can put out there. Don't be satisfied with your center position this year. I just don't think they're going to invest heavily into a center this offseason, and I don't think they were wanting to do that with Cushenberry either, and that's why he's not a Bronco no longer. So they'll invest to a degree, but just not big money on a center.
You're pushing us so far in the future, Phil. It's funny to start to press the mind here. And I was just thinking, this might be one of those free agencies, the drafts. We have draft picks, we have capital in free agency. And we always talk about best player available, best player available. Well, when you have money to spend in free agency and you have all your draft picks, Trevor, I do think you can start thinking about combining these and saying, okay, well, where's the best player available? Is one of the best players available that center in the draft, in free agency? Not at all. But I do think that you start addressing this team just as best player available. That we'll have to look into, man. If that rises to the top, if there's a free agent center that's the best player available, I think we have the opportunity to go out there. But I think it's an all or nothing proposition. Either you're going out there and you're looking for somebody right at the top of the draft, you're looking for one of those top free agents, or I think you kind of run it back with what you have. Maybe you bring in AKA some competition, Trevor, but I don't think you're going out there and you're really investing, like you said, heavily into doing so. So great question. Save it for more of the off season, man, because that'll be one that we'll want to get into even more. So appreciate you, Phil, and all the stars that you brought in. But I appreciate all the posse, man. They've been coming in here. They've been coming in here with their score predictions. Trevor, I know that you're getting yours all lined up. If you haven't made any final tweaks, get them in now. Ernie Mays has his all tweaked in. He's saying the Broncos are going to win 28-13. I love it, Ernie Mays. Always supporting his Broncos. He's loving when you all support the Broncos too, because he thinks, karmically, we all come together. And if we're all believing in this team, and I said this is going to be like a year that I think that we should start believing in this team. And boy, there's been some believers so far this year. So Ernie Mays is without exception. 28-13 is his prediction. Karen's coming in 34-19. Ha ha ha. I'm not sure what the ha 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 is, but that's okay. I like the 34-19 prediction. Let me in on the joke if you have one for me, Karen. Pearl's coming in, looking for a tight one. 21-20. That's a get out of there with a skinnier teeth type of prediction. I like that. Had one other one I wanted to make sure that I got to. Phil was coming in and saying Broncos double time of the possession of the Atlanta Falcons and they score a 7 in each quarter, equaling out to be a 28-9 victory for the Denver Broncos. He's loving it. Ernie Mays he says, I want to see 60 minutes, a 60-minute game go Broncos. Maybe kind of alluding to, well, there was only a few seconds left on the clock in that last one that we just had. So, boy, that close to a 60-minute game, Ernie, and we would have been talking about a whole different record and projection and idea and thoughts around this Denver Broncos team. Scott Sigley, Broncos 31-17 for the Dirty Birds. So he's looking for almost a double up of this Denver Broncos team over the Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds as they're known. Ernie Moy said, "Oh, there we go. Thank you." We beat Atlanta 34-19 in Super Bowl 33. So inside joke figured out by one Ernie Mays, or knew it off the top of his head. Thank you, Karen, for the inside joke, and Ernie Mays for figuring it out for me. But yeah, that was boy, after being a Broncos fan since 83, and then finally seeing that Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl and the way that it went down, how beautiful was that for me? Trevor, I want to get to your beautiful prediction, because you've been alluding to what you think is just going to be a great matchup for this Denver Broncos team. I don't think I've heard you so ecstatic about it. So I'm ecstatic to hear your prediction. Maybe Ernie Mays as well. What do you got for me, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to go. Oh, it's tough. I think it's a favorable matchup for the Broncos because of what they've been through the last couple of weeks, and I just think that this is way more of a manageable football game for them to win than it has the last few weeks. And Keith, I haven't been this excited since the Panthers. We played the Panthers and the Saints. But,
okay, that's right. That's right. There were a couple other games. Okay, I'll give you that.
No, but I think it's going to be a high scoring game to a degree. I think the Broncos defense, we're gonna see firsthand just how great this Broncos defense is or not. This is a great offense in Atlanta. This Denver defense is going to get tested early. I'm still worried about the offense and where they're going. You should be able to capitalize on this Atlanta defense this week. I know in the passing game that's not going to be easy, but you should still be able to move the football on this Atlanta Falcons defense. The Saints can do it. I don't see why the Broncos couldn't do it. So I'm going to go 21-17 Broncos. I think it's going to be a very, very tight game. I think Denver's defense steps up and they really get after Kirk Cousins in this one. They got after Patrick Mahomes. They made Patrick Mahomes' life, not very satisfying on Sunday. They really got after Patrick Mahomes, and give Patrick Mahomes credit. He steps up in the pocket and he usually avoids sacks pretty well too. I don't think Kirk Cousins has the mobility to do that, and I don't see him stepping up in the pocket to avoid sacks too often. So, pocket passing quarterback, I think it favors Denver in this matchup. This team is elite at getting after the quarterback. They're second in pressures in the NFL. I don't see why Denver couldn't win this game. Make a point, make a stand, get a big win at home. It's one of those things where I'm confident in this team. I'm not overly confident, but I think that they can get this win in the Mile High City, and they need to, because I think this can really, Ernie, I think this can really turn your season one way or another. Are you a playoff team? Are you not? Go prove the doubters wrong and go beat the Atlanta Falcons.
Trevor, Ernie Mays is coming in saying that's a miracle. Thank you, Trevor.
Hey, he acts like I haven't picked one game this year the Broncos to win. I mean, just because 2 weeks in a row. It's been a while, but it's been a while.
I'm hoping that Trevor, you're still my friend, and Ernie Mays, you're still my friend, and Broncos country. We talk about being realistic, Trevor.
Yep.
We talk about being true and real, and man, there's nothing I hope than all the fantastic scores that I've seen, from Super Bowl scores to touchdowns every single quarter, and holding the Falcons to just 3 measly field goals. All the predictions that came in, but like I said, I feel like it's a track race. I feel like this is one of those games that if the Falcons go out there and they put up 14 points, before we put up our first touchdown. This is one of those games where it's gonna be a shootout. It's gonna be who can put up the most points by the end of the game. So I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that Ernie Mays is my friend and Pearl's my friend and everything after my score prediction. But I'm putting up more points for the Broncos than you are. I'm putting up 24 points by the Broncos, but the Atlanta Falcons get 35 points on this Denver Broncos defense. And speculation as far as what our playoffs entail start to come into round. By the way, if you're not pulling for the San Diego Chargers to beat the Bengals and make sure that the Bengals stay in their position behind the Denver Broncos,
LA
Chargers. I'll do that to the end of my life, Trevor. But thank you. Another $1 in the jar, San Diego Charger jar. But yeah, the LA Chargers. Unfortunately, I think that we need to be pulling for them in this weekend's matchup. So, I think this game is capable of being won by the Denver Broncos. Just giving my best thoughts, my best prediction. I think it's going to be a track race. I hope I'm on the Broncos are on the opposite side of this. I hope this score is flipped because I think that the Broncos are on that track to be that capable of doing it. Trevor, I'm going to get into always some love. Scott's thinking that the Broncos are fired up after last week's game, ready to come out there and win, as all of you have predicted them to win, except for me. We need another decisive game, and they've done it before, says Karen, and I appreciate that. He's saying the Falcons are as good as the Ravens.
That's what was going through my mind too. You're talking up this Falcons offense pretty well. I mean,
I'm telling you what. I mean, the thing is that okay. Let me defend myself 2 seconds before we get off the air.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kirk Cousins is the real deal. I think that he can get the ball out quickly. I think it really depends on how good this defense is underneath. Are they playing man? Are they playing zone? I don't think it's necessarily about getting after Kirk Cousins because I don't think he's going to spend that much time in the pocket. And if he is, he's probably just baiting you for some type of screen pass. Again, I think this Atlanta Falcons offense will stress this Denver Broncos defense. I hope they're up to the task. But, let's all face it. Once you're past the first wave, once you're past your guy that's supposed to be on you, now you're talking about guys like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson. I mean, these are guys all the way down to Ray McLeod that's also their returner. These are guys not to be – Darnell Mooney. These are guys not to be fooled with if you miss a tackle. So I think it's, hey, this Denver Broncos defense comes in, they lock down. That's good. If they get the Atlanta Falcons behind in this game, like I said, I was right on board with what Karen said. Go out there, play action, whatever. Score early. Get up 14-0 to where now you're dictating on defense. Now Kirk Cousins is pressing to get back into the game. Oh, that plays right into your hands, Broncos country. You got yourself a game. This could get out of hand, and the Broncos could run away with this if that be the case. But I think it does take the Denver Broncos offense getting on top early. I just see the Atlanta Falcons getting on top early. And unfortunately, in that type of situation, I don't know if the Denver Broncos can play that race to the end and end up getting out on top. That's the only reason I'm with that prediction. Go ahead, Trevor.
I know.
We'll continue, but that's okay. We'll go a little OT for a second.
Yeah, no, I know. Just real quickly. So, real quick question for you, Keith, and maybe even the posse can answer this as well. Are you more concerned about the Broncos offense in this game or the Broncos defense in this game? Certainly seems like the defense is more of a concern in this game for you than the offense, but just wanted to ask you quickly.
No, I think it's the position the offense puts the defense in.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
Okay.
If this offense can go out there and they can be productive, even stay in a tit-for-tat type of game, I think this defense has even the opportunity to maybe even win this game for the Denver Broncos. But if this offense isn't out there and they're not being productive and they come out there and they're flat and they're not putting up points in the first quarter, then we're going to be playing that game where this defense is always trying to win it for them and always trying to keep the Atlanta Falcons in check and, always playing with bad field position. And, that just doesn't add up for me, man. So I'm hoping the offense, I think they have the ability to be productive, but productive to 3 points, 6 points, 9 points, like I said, or punching it in. That will be big for me, man. If they were able to punch it in, I know I don't have like a 3-6-9 type of score that I predicted, but I think it's going to be that type of game. They'll have to get it in. They'll have to get it in.
Agreed.
Any last thoughts from you, buddy?
No, I agree with you. The Broncos offense is still a concern, and it might put this defense in a difficult situation. That's one of my concerns as well. But I think that this Atlanta Falcons defense, while their secondary is definitely good, I just think that this Broncos offensive line, this might be their best matchup of the year. Maybe you can argue Seattle, where you can get some push up front and you can start running the football more. You can start kind of moving the ball a little bit more. I think if you're going to be able to do that this season, this is one of those games where you should be able to do so. If this team can't if this Broncos offense can't move the football against the Atlanta Falcons, there should be a lot of concern with Sean Payton in this offense.
Fair.
I'll just say that. But I do think that they'll be able to do it. I think this Broncos defense is just very good. Maybe they'll get a couple turnovers against Kirk Cousins, but we shall see. It's going to be a tough matchup for sure, and one of those season-defying wins or losses maybe on Sunday.
I haven't heard anything in the chatter, but Pearl's brought it up a couple of times. Have you heard anything about Kirk Cousins being hurt? She has brought it up one last time. Just want to bring that out. Scott, well, if you want to address that in just a second, I just want to address this from Scott because, hey, we're all looking for our things to happen or not happen in this game. Maybe just watch out for what Scott's saying. Scott says he's more worried about the offense in the first 10 minutes and the defense in the last 10 minutes of this game. So watch for that. I think that's a great just, thought process behind it. Way to really break it down to the simple, Scott. The first 10 minutes for this offense, what are they doing? Are they out there? Are they executing? If they are, hey, it could be a fantastic day for the Denver Broncos offense and what we could accomplish out there. And similarly, what is this defense doing in the last 10 minutes? Because in that last 10 minutes, that's make or break time. Are you playing prevent defense? Or are you preventing yourself from winning this game? What's happening in those last 10 minutes? It could come down to that. Great analysis, Scott. Appreciate it. And Karen's coming in and saying, that's why I said score early. 100%, Karen. Me and you, Scott, I think we're all on board. That first 10 minutes, what happens for the offense, what we're capable of doing out of the gate, score early. Let's do it, Karen. Let's get a win. Let's make Keith incorrect in his prediction of a Denver Broncos loss. Trevor, we do need to get out of here. I'll give you some final thoughts, and I'll say as many names as I can possibly remember and scroll through to give thanks to. But any final thoughts before we get out of here, buddy?
Yeah, to answer the Kirk Cousins question, he had a right shoulder and right elbow injury, but he is going to play. He was full participant in practice, I believe Thursday and Friday. So he's definitely playing, not even on the injury report. So to answer your question, Pearl, and again, thank you for the question. But no, final thoughts. It's going to be a competitive game, regardless. I think whether it's a high scoring game, whether it's a middle score pack game, per se, or low score game, don't matter. It's going to be a competitive game. No team's going to just walk away with this game, I don't think. The Broncos offensively, yes, they need to start score early. Of course you want to, but they need to be consistent. I want to see consistency from this Broncos offense, and I think that's where it starts. And it starts with running the football and passing the football effectively. We shall see if they're able to do that. Again, keep an eye on the offensive line matchup. That's, for me, what really pushes it over the top as far as picking this game. That's what pushed it for me, was the Broncos offensive line. I have a lot of confidence in them in this game, being able to win their matchups up front and really help Bo Nix in this offense out. But hope everybody has a great weekend. thank you for everybody that tuned in for us tonight. I know there's a famous fight going on. I don't know, but
Right around the corner, buddy.
yeah, we appreciate you guys just being here, continue to support us, and we'll be back on Sunday to break down the game. And just a big thank you. Hopefully everybody stays safe, stay warm, and as always, go Broncos.
Absolutely, buddy. Think about this really quick while I run through all the fantastic posse. I would love to get your thoughts on maybe a player of the game, offense, defense, if you have one that you're just even watching. Not necessarily that it's going to be the player of the game, but maybe a player you're watching. But Scott, who came in here fantastically early, promoting us, loving us. Appreciate you so much, Scott. Ernie Mays, Victor was in here. We had the fantastic Phil McLaughlin in here dropping stars as well. Rodney Garcia coming in over on YouTube. Appreciate you, Rodney. Ernie Mays, if I didn't say it, Miranda Mary over at Broncos World Order. I need to check them out. That should be fantastic. You guys will be loving that. Phil McLaughlin, I already said that, but Patrick Wiltsey was right underneath him. That's the name I meant to say. Aloha from Patrick and everything that you do with Lion Coffee. Kind of supporting the show behind the scenes because he certainly powers us through many with the Lion Coffee. If you're a coffee lover, check out Lion Coffee. Pearl coming in here, and Pearl's working on her site, but check out Morgan Trinkets at AOL.com. That's Morgan Trinkets at AOL.com. I did drop that in the comments a little bit earlier. Karen, great to see you over on YouTube. Been a fantastic supporter. Douglas Wall came in over on YouTube, and I didn't even recognize him when he came through. The comments were coming through so quick. So, Douglas, thank you so much. I do trust the scouts as well. And we'll be getting into the offseason before we know it. That being said, I'm just scrolling quickly, making sure I didn't miss anybody else that came in, chimed in, was part of the posse. Thank you very much, Phil, for all the stars that you've been bringing to us. We appreciate that. Loved all the conversation that we had with the posse. It's never the same if you guys aren't out there touching base with us, coming in here and making sure that, well, we're loved as much as you love the Denver Broncos, and we appreciate that so much. We go live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, bringing you Broncos coverage. And then we go live right after the game. Of course, this Sunday, the game's at 2 o'clock p.m., being right there in Mountain Standard Time, right there in the Mile High City Denver Broncos. We'll be taking it to the Atlanta Falcons. We'll go live right after, win, lose, or draw, talking about the Denver Broncos, what you saw, what we saw, and what we need to do going forward. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the fight. Hope you're a Jake Paul or Mike Tyson fan, whoever it is, your guy wins. Hopefully the Denver Broncos win come Sunday. But as always, keep your feet in the stirrups. Keep your guns in your holsters. And as always, keep the Denver Broncos in your heart. We'll see you Sunday, everybody. Have a great evening.